This is Mr. Chan. He recently had to have his big toe removed, and in addition, he is experiencing complications with his vision and kidneys. Meet Marlene. She is 53 and has been dealing with similar symptoms for 20 years. Both Mr. Chan and Marlene have type 2 diabetes, a severe condition that claims approximately 1.5 million lives annually. When questioned about what led to their condition, both Mr. Chan and Marlene pointed to consuming too much sugar. So today, let's dive into the world of sugar. We'll explore how it affects our body, understand why it can be more addictive than cocaine, discuss the potential risks it poses, and most importantly, share some strategies to protect yourself and your loved ones from these dangers.
I had no clue sugar was such a bad guy. I always thought it was just a natural, no big deal kind of thing. I mean, sugar's all around us, right? Kids start munching on sweets super early, and nobody really makes a fuss about it.
You're not alone in thinking that, but check out this study. Back in 2008, researchers at Princeton University demonstrated that sugar can impact our brains and behavior similarly to addictive drugs. In the experiment, they gave rats sugar water to drink, along with their usual food. Over time, these rats started acting like they were hooked on the sugar water. Specifically, the rats began to consume the sugar solution in a binge-like manner, showing signs of craving and withdrawal when the sugar was removed. Their brain chemistry also changed. For example, the study found alterations in dopamine levels. As you remember, dopamine is a type of neurotransmitter. Your body makes it, and your nervous system uses it to send messages between nerve cells. It plays a significant role in how we feel pleasure. Eating too much sugar makes your brain release a lot of dopamine, just like drugs do. So it was not a surprise when researchers found that the rats really seemed addicted to sugar. They drank more and more over time, got upset when it was taken away, even shaking and getting anxious, and kept wanting sugar even when it was bad for them.
Totally get that. I start feeling jittery if I don't get my chocolate fix every day. But why does it happen?
The reason why we like sugar so much is really straightforward. Our body needs energy. We get this by eating food that contains carbohydrates. The body processes the carbohydrates from food and turns much of it into glucose. The cells pull the glucose from the bloodstream and use it for fuel and energy. Sugar belongs to the category of simple carbohydrates that are quickly absorbed, and the human body almost immediately receives energy for movement and functioning. For the human body, it is the simplest and most desirable source of energy, which also boosts mood.
Feels like we're back in biology class, so when I munch on some candy, it's like my body just hit turbo mode. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Sugar is not bad for the body and gives it energy. But having too much sugar can cause problems. As we discussed at the start of this video, sugar can lead to type 2 diabetes. But that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the potential consequences it can have. The most well-known outcomes of sugar consumption include obesity, lack of energy, skin issues, and even accelerated aging. Over time, the situation has only worsened. If we look at obesity rates in the US since the 1960s, we'll see that they have tripled in the last 60 years. Now let's take a look at this experiment conducted by Brown University in Rhode Island. Here's a perfectly healthy rat. When placed in a vat of water, it consistently finds its way to safety. Now, observe this next rat. It ate a diet full of fats and sugars, just like what many people in North America eat. This rat struggles to navigate. Its brain function has been impaired. The scientists found that the bad diet hurt the rat's brain. According to scientists, these rats were totally normal, and then they turned into demented animals. They started acting confused and couldn't remember things they had learned, even just a day before. The researchers now believe that Alzheimer's may essentially be a form of diabetes of the brain linked to altered insulin levels caused by eating too much sugar.
Wow, that's awful! Knowing this, I don't think I want to overeat sugar anymore. Guess it's goodbye to candies and sodas for me.
Unfortunately, it's not as straightforward as it seems. Have you ever checked the ingredients in the everyday food you pick up at the grocery store?
Nope. I usually aim to grab healthy things, like orange juice or yogurt.
I hate to burst your bubble, but even the small stuff adds up. A small pack of orange juice? That's got 4 spoons of sugar. A serving of fruit yogurt? That's 6. And it doesn't stop there. A sports drink packs 8, while a sweet soda starts at 10 and goes up. And if you indulge in a large chocolate milkshake, you're basically gulping down 18 spoons of sugar in one go. Now, think about this. The recommended daily sugar intake varies from 25 to 66 grams. But in the US, the average person consumes a whopping 166 grams of sugar every single day. In the 2014 documentary Sugar, the creator of the film decides to find out how sugar affects us. For 2 months, he eats what many people consider a normal amount of sugar, 40 teaspoons every day. But he's not just eating obvious sugary stuff like soda or candy. Instead, he chooses foods that a lot of us think are healthy: natural juices, low-fat yogurts, smoothies, cereals, and energy bars. As a result, he ends up gaining about 18 pounds, and his waist grows by almost 4 inches. He also starts having liver problems, and his risk of getting diabetes goes up. In his experiment, he shows the hard truth about how hooked we are on sugar, how it quietly hurts our health, and how food companies sneakily make money by keeping us craving more.
So this basically means that even if I think I'm not eating sugar, I still am, huh? Sounds like a cycle I just can't break free from. But why do companies have to add so much sugar to our food anyway?
There are mainly 2 reasons. Some folks remember this story about the President of the United States, Eisenhower, and his heart doctor. Once, Eisenhower had a heart attack. Since it was the TV age, they had to show everyone that he was okay, getting better, and still working. They had his doctor tell everyone that you can live a normal life after a heart attack. He said Eisenhower could even run for a second term if he exercised more, stopped smoking, and ate less fatty food. At the same time, a scientist named Ancel Keys got famous. He was even on the cover of Time magazine. He said that eating fat was why so many people were dying from heart problems. He did a big study in 7 countries, and by the 70s, he claimed that the more fat people ate, the more they died from heart disease. So, the US government told food makers to cut down on fats in foods. But here's the twist. Even with less fat, people didn't get healthier. Instead, more people got obese and got type 2 diabetes. And you probably can guess why. After food companies reduced fats in their products, many of their foods ended up tasting bland. However, they quickly found a workaround: adding sugar to all those products.
So you're saying all this sugar in our food is because of politics and Fell's studies?
Not exactly. There is a second reason for that. The big issue for food businesses is keeping their products fresh for longer. Sugar binds water in foods. So, if the concentration of sugar is increased to a certain level, all water is bound by the sugars, giving no space for microorganisms to grow. Because sugar is a natural way to keep food from going bad, and it doesn't cost much, food companies started putting it in almost everything, from bread and cakes to milk products. This helps keep food good for a longer time, so they have more time to sell it.
So using sugar in our food turns out to be super profitable, huh? But how do they actually get people to snap up all those super sugar products?
Science helped out here. Researchers found out that sugar can change how we feel and act because it messes with our body's systems. Companies didn't miss the chance to use this info. Check out this old school Dr. Pepper bottle. Ever wonder why it's got those random numbers on it? The catchy 10-2-4 slogan of Dr. Pepper has its roots in a 1920s advertising campaign. It was based on research suggesting that sugar serves as an energy booster, and that the average person experiences energy slumps at around 10:30 a.m., 2:30 p.m., and 4:30 p.m. The idea was to encourage people to drink Dr. Pepper at these times to help them get through their day with an extra energy boost. The slogan was used extensively and became one of the brand's most iconic marketing strategies. So, just as we've seen, marketing companies play a crucial role in driving up the demand for sugary products. Add to that the growing global population, and you've got a recipe for an ever-increasing appetite for sweets.
So, why don't we come across slogans like this nowadays? They're super catchy and honestly would totally get me to drink more soda.
That's a great question. Nowadays, with growing awareness about the dangers of sugar, companies have adapted to this new reality. You'll notice more foods and beverages labeled with "no sugar added," but that's often just for show. In reality, they're turning to natural sweeteners and various sugar substitutes like erythritol, stevia, and sorbitol. And when the push to cut production costs becomes stronger, they switch to synthetic sweeteners such as aspartame, sucralose, and isomalt. Since the use of artificial sweeteners is relatively new, scientists haven't reached a consensus on their impact on human health. However, research from as far back as the 1970s has associated the artificial sweetener saccharin with bladder cancer in rats. Moreover, some studies on the long-term daily consumption of artificial sweeteners indicate a potential connection to an increased risk of stroke, heart disease, and overall mortality.
After all we've talked about today, I bet people who are watching this video probably trying to figure out how to dial back on sugar and dodge those artificial sweeteners.
Here's a strategy to tackle it. Remember how we discussed that sugar impacts our brain just like drugs? The best way to kick the craving is to cut out sugar for at least 30 days. Here's what happens to your body during this time. You'll experience physiological changes within hours. Your hormonal balance shifts, and your insulin levels begin to decrease. High insulin levels prevent your body from burning fat, so when these levels drop, you're likely to see some weight loss. In the days and weeks that follow, you'll notice your lipid levels, including triglycerides, a type of fat in your blood, start to fall. This is crucial because high triglycerides are a risk factor for heart disease, and your bad cholesterol, known as LDL, also decreases. By the end of the 30-day sugar detox, your taste preferences will shift. Foods that once tasted just right will now seem overly sweet. As your palate adjusts to less sugar, you'll find it easier to maintain these dietary changes. You won't crave sweets as much, and they won't seem as appealing as before.
So, looks like ditching sugar is the way to go if we want to stay healthy, huh?
As the Swiss physician and philosopher Paracelsus once said, "All things are poison, and nothing is without poison. It's the dosage alone that determines whether something is not a poison."